Hi, I'm Scott Lucas. This is EA's Worldview on Syria. Today, the Saudi Arabia break from the United States. Last month, we predicted, after the United States pulled back from military intervention in Syria, that other countries would not be quiet. We predicted that Turkey, for example, would continue to back the insurgency. And we said that Saudi Arabia would do so as well. In fact, we suggested that Saudi Arabia would increase arms supplies to the insurgents, trying to maintain the pressure on President Assad, even as Washington was retreating. And so it has come to pass. Here's our 4-point guide. Point 1, the immediate news: the Saudi refusal to take up a seat on the UN Security Council. Last week, after being elected to the UN Security Council for the first time in its history, Saudi Arabia suddenly said, "We don't want to be part of it." They walked away from the 15-member body, supposedly the most important at the United Nations, and said they would prefer to make foreign policy elsewhere. In the aftermath of that decision, there was a lot of speculation. Some said that Saudi King Abdullah simply was rash and that he made decisions very quickly. Others said that Saudi Arabia was upset with the United States because of nuclear talks with Iran, fearing that Washington would become too soft on the Islamic Republic. Others said that Saudi Arabia simply had a misguided policy in the Middle East and had some distorted idea that it didn't have to play with others, as it were. All of those explanations are beside the point. The Saudi Arabians were sending a message, not to the United Nations, but to the US. We don't like what you're doing over Syria, and we don't want to sit in the Security Council while you continue this policy, retreating from the insurgency and effectively supporting President Assad. Point 2. So why are the Saudis so upset with the Americans? This is a story which goes well before last week. It goes, in fact, all the way back to the start of this year, before the chemical weapons attacks of August, before the US flip-flop, proposing to use airstrikes to show President Assad this wasn't acceptable, and then retreating. The Saudis have been telling the Americans for months, if you really support the insurgency, then you've got to put your weapons where your mouth is. You can't just simply say, oh, it would be good if Assad stepped down. You have to give a meaningful supply to insurgents who are fighting in the south as well as in the north. Whether you do it covertly or overtly, you do not be hesitant about this. But the US has hesitated repeatedly. As an article in Wednesday's New York Times reveals, President Obama has been indecisive and cautious on numerous occasions since 2011, drawing the antagonism not only from the Saudis but from his own officials. In April, after months of deliberation and caution, he finally signed a finding which authorized the CIA to begin training and arming Syrian insurgents. There was never any delivery of weapons. There was very little training. There was no follow-through. And the Saudis knew this. And they watched after the August 21st chemical weapons attacks, when the Americans compared Assad to Adolf Hitler, when they denounced him for the gassing of children, and they watched when the US did absolutely nothing. Or rather, when the US actually did something, but something which was quite different. Far from showing Assad that this was unacceptable, they linked up with the Russians for a handover of Syria's chemical weapons stocks, and also to push a so-called peace conference. A peace conference, even if the condition was not met, that President Assad would have to give way for a transitional government. And so last week, after months of frustration and anger, the Saudis said enough is enough. And what they signaled is, not just that they're staying out of the UN Security Council, but that they will continue to arm the insurgency. They will continue to promote the opposition as the legitimate government of Syria, even if that opposition is fragmented and even if there is no clear individual which is commanding it at this point. Point 3. So what does the US do in response? To put it bluntly, Washington is caught between hell and high water. There is almost no way, after exposing its indecisiveness, that the US can now go back and arm the insurgency. No way that it can link up with the Saudis in a sustained effort to get rid of Assad. On the other hand, the idea that Assad will step aside for a peace conference, the current US line, is fantasy. It simply isn't going to happen. And so the Americans have no good option at this point. On Monday, John Kerry, after meeting the Saudi foreign minister, came out and said, "Oh, certainly President Assad is someone who cannot remain in power if we were to have peace." But the fact is, Kerry had nothing to offer beyond this. He simply had been told off by the Saudis, and then this was his rhetoric to try to make up for Washington's weeks of policy that had led into a cul-de-sac. Point 4. So is this just Syria? No, absolutely not. What we're looking at is a serious case, of course, but it has far wider consequences. The Saudis, for example, can choose to go their own way on Iran policy. They can choose to go their own way on Iraq policy, including stirring up opposition to the current government. They can choose a different strategy on the Israel-Palestine conflict. They can choose to go and break from the United States on Egypt. Remember that while the Americans are hesitating, waffling over how much aid to give the new military regime, the Saudis have not. They were in there with billions of dollars as soon as the coup took place in July. In other words, the Saudis are saying to the Americans, "You don't want to work with us on Syria? Fine. Let's see who can flex their muscles in this region. Let's see who, in fact, can be power. Power in some cases to support an insurgency, power in some cases to support a government, power in some places to build up or break economies. Let's see what you're made of." And we await Washington's response. I'm Scott Lucas, and this has been EA Worldview's Guide to Syria for today.